Say you're mine.
Jinsang's tattooed hands gripping Solange's thighs as she gasps his name. Her brown skin glowing in moonlight, his mouth on her neck, biting, claiming. Say you're mine. I'm yours, always yours. Bodies tangled in silk sheets, moving together desperately. Her nails down his back, his fingers in her curls, wedding rings catching light, whispered "Uteyamo" mixing with Korean in the dark, then fear creeping in, blood on his knuckles, her holding Hana tight, his jaw clenched. Solange's voice breaks through. They said our love was dangerous. They had no idea how much we'd burn before we'd let go. Them standing bloodied but unbroken, ready for war. Love is. Welcome home to Afro-Seoul TV, where we live between two worlds, beyond all borders and honey. We only serve three things: tearjerkers, heartbreakers, and absolute game changers. Now, if you're just joining this love story, Part 1 is waiting for you in the comments and description, because trust me, you need to see how Solange and Jinsang's impossible, earth-shattering love began. And love is, do me a favor right now, drop a comment and tell me where you're watching from, because I want to know how far this story is traveling across the globe. Nigeria, Brazil, Korea, London, New York. Let us know so we can see how far love really goes when it refuses to recognize borders. Now get comfortable, grab your tissues, because Part 2 is about to wreck you in ways you didn't see coming. 3 a.m, and Jinsang had Solange pinned against their bedroom wall with her nightgown pushed up around her waist and his hand between her thighs, doing things that made thinking impossible. Her legs wrapped tight around him, heels digging into his lower back as he held her up effortlessly. His other hand fisted in her curls, tugging her head back so he could get his mouth on her throat, on that sensitive spot that made her gasp his name. Say it, he growled against her skin, his accent thicker when control slipped like this. I'm yours. The words came out broken, breathless. Always yours, Jinsang. He bit down where her neck met her shoulder, not gentle, marking her, and she cried out. 3 months married, but sometimes it still felt like they were trying to prove to each other this was real, that they'd survived hell and made it out together. But tonight felt different. His grip was tighter than usual, almost bruising. The desperation in his kiss tasted like fear. She opened her eyes, really looked at him through the haze of pleasure, and saw something dark swimming behind that intense gaze. Something that sent worry spiking through her even as her body responded to his touch. Baby, what's wrong? He didn't answer. Just kissed her harder, swallowed the question, and carried her to their bed. They fell into the tangled sheets, and she let him drown out her concern with his body, with the way he knew exactly how to touch her, how to make her forget everything except the feeling of him. Afterward, they lay wrapped around each other, her head on his tattooed chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her bare shoulder. His heart was still racing under her ear. She could feel the tension radiating off him despite what they'd just done. Talk to me, she whispered, pressing a kiss to one of his scars. Something's wrong. I can feel it. His hand stilled on her skin. For a long moment he was silent, and she felt the war happening inside him, the trained operative who never showed weakness fighting against the man who'd learned to be vulnerable with her. Nothing's wrong. Go to sleep, Solange. She lifted her head to look at him, saw his jaw set in that stubborn line. Don't do that. Don't shut me out. I'm not shutting you out. You literally just did. She sat up, holding the sheet to her chest, frustration rising. We promised each other. No more secrets. He stared at the ceiling instead of looking at her. Some things I need to handle on my own. We're married, Jinsang. There is no on your own anymore. Finally he looked at her, and the rawness in his expression made her chest ache. Fear. She was seeing actual fear in his eyes, and that terrified her more than anything because Jinsang didn't get scared. I'm trying to protect you, he said quietly. By keeping secrets. We've been down this road before, and it nearly destroyed us. He reached up and touched her face, his thumb gentle on her cheekbone. If something happened to you or Hana because of my past, because of the things I've done, I wouldn't survive it. Her heart clenched. She caught his hand, pressed a kiss to his palm. Nothing's going to happen to us. We're safe now. Kong Min-jun is thousands of miles away. Ji-woo lost her parental rights. Agent Voss backed off. We won, remember? Something flickered across his face. Guilt, maybe. Or knowledge of something she didn't know. Before she could push further, he pulled her back down against him, wrapping his arms around her tight like he was trying to shelter her from the whole world. I love you, he murmured into her hair. More than anything. You know that, right? I know. She felt tears prick her eyes without understanding why. I love you too. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, but Solange's dreams were restless, and when she woke in the morning, Jinsang was already gone. She found him in the kitchen with Hana, making the little girl's favorite breakfast. The sight of them together still made her heart swell. Hana sitting on the counter in her pajamas, giggling as Jinsang let her crack eggs into a bowl. His patience with their daughter so different from the cold ruthlessness he showed the rest of the world. Mama! Hana spotted her first, reaching out with both arms. Solange crossed the kitchen and scooped her up, pressing kisses to her face until Hana squealed with laughter. Good morning, my beautiful girl. Did you sleep well? Daddy let me have chocolate milk. Did he now? Solange shot Jinsang a look over Hana's head. They had rules about sugar before breakfast. He just smirked, looking more relaxed than he had last night. Special occasion. What's the occasion? It's Tuesday. Tuesdays are special. Hana giggled again, and Solange felt some of her worry from last night ease. Maybe she'd been reading too much into things. Maybe he really had just been tired. Jinsang came closer, sliding one arm around her waist while Hana was still in her arms, creating a little family circle in their kitchen. He kissed Solange's temple, then Hana's forehead. My girls, he murmured, and there was so much love in his voice that it made her throat tight. This was what they'd fought for. This moment, this peace. Except when Jinsang's phone buzzed on the counter, she saw his whole body tense. Saw the way his eyes went cold and flat as he glanced at the screen. Saw him silence it without answering, but not before she caught a glimpse of the notification, unknown number, and a message that just said, the debt comes due. Her blood went cold. Who was that? She asked, trying to keep her voice casual for Hana's sake. Wrong number. He was already moving away, putting distance between them. I need to make some calls. Work stuff. Jinsang, not now, Solange. The coldness in his voice made her flinch. He left the kitchen without looking back, and she stood there, holding Hana, feeling like the ground had just shifted under her feet. Hana noticed the change in mood, her small face growing worried. Is Daddy mad? No, baby. He's just busy. Solange forced a smile, kissed her forehead. Come on, let's get you ready for school. But after she dropped Hana off and drove to her therapy clinic in downtown Dallas, she couldn't shake the unease sitting like a stone in her stomach. She'd fought too hard for this life, for this family, to let unnamed threats tear it apart. Something was wrong, and Jinsang was hiding it from her. Her clinic was small but growing, a dream she'd finally been able to pursue now that she had her Texas license and legal status. She specialized in trauma therapy, particularly for children, and word was spreading. She had 3 appointments scheduled today, and normally she'd be excited about that. Instead, she felt distracted, anxious. She was reviewing her notes for her first session when her receptionist buzzed her. Dr. Batista, there's someone here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he says it's urgent. Something in the woman's tone put Solange on alert. Who is it? He says his name is Agent Voss. FBI. Her heart stopped, then started again, racing. Marcus Voss. The FBI agent who'd tried to use her to take down Jinsang, who'd threatened her with deportation, who'd finally backed off after they'd given him information about Jiwoo's trafficking connections. What the hell was he doing here? "Send him in," she said, standing up and smoothing down her dress, trying to project confidence she didn't feel. Agent Voss walked into her office looking exactly the same as she remembered. Mid-40s, sharp suit, calculating eyes that missed nothing. He had the kind of face that looked friendly until you realized there was no warmth behind the smile. "Dr. Batista, or should I say Mrs. Bayek now? Congratulations on the marriage." She didn't sit down and didn't invite him to either. "What are you doing here, Agent Voss? I thought we had an understanding." "We did. We do." He moved further into her office, looking around at her framed degrees, her bookshelf, the children's drawings some of her young patients had made for her. "Nice place you have here. You've done well for yourself. Legal practice, legitimate income, loving husband, beautiful stepdaughter. The American dream, right? Get to the point." He turned to face her, and now the friendliness was completely gone. "Kong Min-jun contacted us." Everything in her went very still. Kong Min-jun, Jinsang's former handler from his days in South Korean intelligence, the man who'd tried to pull Jinsang back into that dark world a year ago before seemingly disappearing, the ghost that haunted her husband's nightmares. What does he want? Her voice came out steady despite the fear clawing at her throat. "He wants Jinsang, says he has unfinished business. And here's the interesting part." Voss pulled out his phone, tapped the screen, then held it up so she could see. Security footage. A hotel in Dallas, timestamp from 3 nights ago. Her heart dropped into her stomach as she watched Jinsang enter the frame, walking into the lobby with purpose. Then a woman appeared. Beautiful, Korean, dressed in expensive clothes. She walked right up to Jinsang, and he didn't look surprised to see her. They talked briefly, then entered an elevator together. The footage ended. "Who is she?" Solange asked, even though part of her didn't want to know. "Lee Yuna, Kong Min-jun's daughter. And according to our intelligence, she was your husband's fiancée before he met his first wife. His first love, you could say." Voss's smile was cruel. "Funny he never mentioned her to you. Or these meetings. Because this wasn't the only one. They've been seeing each other for 3 weeks now." Solange felt like she was going to be sick. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of Jinsang acting strange, distant, secretive. 3 weeks of him shutting her out, and all this time he'd been meeting with another woman, with his ex-fiancée. "You're lying," she said, but her voice lacked conviction. "I can show you more footage if you want. Different hotels, different times, always the two of them, always private." Voss put his phone away. "Now I don't know what's going on between them. Maybe it's just business, maybe it's more. But Kong Min-jun is using his daughter to get to Jinsang, to pull him back in. And if your husband goes back to that world, Dr. Batista, everything you've built here will collapse. Your license, your practice, your family. The FBI doesn't look kindly on the wives of active international criminals." "What do you want?" The words came out as a whisper. "Same thing I've always wanted. I want Jinsang, but more than that, I want Kong Min-jun. He's been a ghost for too long, operating in the shadows, but now he's here in Dallas, making moves, and I want to take him down. Help me do that, and I'll make sure your family stays protected. Refuse, and I'll make sure everyone knows exactly what your husband's been up to. Get out of my office. Think about it, Dr. Batista, because Kong doesn't play games. If he wants Jinsang back in his network, he'll use every weapon he has. And from where I'm standing, you and that little girl are his biggest weapons. How far would your husband go to keep you safe? What would he sacrifice? What has he already sacrificed?" Voss left without another word, and Solange collapsed into her desk chair, shaking. Her mind was racing, trying to make sense of everything. Jinsang had been meeting with Kong Min-jun's daughter, with his ex-fiancée, for 3 weeks, and he hadn't told her. The debt comes due. That's what the message had said this morning. What debt? What had Jinsang gotten them into? She cancelled her appointments for the day, told her receptionist she wasn't feeling well, drove home to the compound in a daze, but she didn't go inside immediately. Sat in her car in the driveway, hands gripping the steering wheel, trying to calm the panic rising in her chest. Should she confront Jinsang? Demand answers? But what if Voss was manipulating her again, trying to drive a wedge between them? What if there was a perfectly reasonable explanation for those meetings and she was letting the FBI play her? But 3 weeks. 3 weeks of secrets. 3 weeks of him shutting her out while meeting with his ex-fiancée. Her phone rang. Jinsang. She stared at his name on the screen, her heart racing. Finally answered. "Hey," she said, trying to sound normal. "Where are you? The guard said you came home early." "I'm in the driveway. Just needed a minute." Silence on his end. Then, "Are you okay?" "No," she wanted to scream. "I'm not okay. Tell me what's happening. Tell me who she is. Tell me why you're lying to me." "I'm fine," she said instead. "Just a headache. I'll be in soon." She hung up before he could respond. Sat there for another few minutes, pulling herself together. Whatever was happening, whatever Jinsang was hiding, she needed to be smart about this. Needed to figure out what was really going on before she made any moves. Finally, she went inside. The compound was quiet, most of Jinsang's security team stationed at various posts around the property. She went straight to their bedroom, needing to be alone, to think. But Jinsang was there, sitting on the edge of their bed, waiting for her. "Solange." He stood when she entered, concern written all over his face. "What's wrong? And don't say nothing. I can see it." She looked at him, this man she loved more than anything, this man who'd saved her and whom she'd saved in return, and felt tears burn behind her eyes. She wanted to ask him about Yuna, wanted to demand the truth, but something held her back. Fear, maybe. Fear of what the truth might be. "Just a bad day at work," she said, the lie tasting bitter on her tongue. "One of my patients, a little girl, she reminded me of Hana, and it just hit me how easily we could lose everything." It wasn't entirely a lie. The fear was real, even if the reason wasn't. Jinsang crossed to her, pulled her into his arms. "We're not losing anything. I promise you. We're safe." She wanted to believe him, wanted to sink into his embrace and let everything else fade away. But she couldn't shake the image of him with that woman entering that hotel together. "Are we?" she whispered against his chest. "Are we really safe?" He pulled back, looked down at her, his hands framing her face. "Yes, I will always keep you safe. You and Hana. Always." She saw the conviction in his eyes, the love, the fierce protectiveness. But she also saw the shadow lurking beneath, the thing he wasn't telling her. "Promise me something," she said. "Anything. Promise me that if something's wrong, if something's threatening us, you'll tell me, that you won't try to handle it alone." Something flickered across his face. Guilt. "Solange." "Promise me, Jinsang." He was quiet for a long moment, his thumbs stroking her cheeks. Finally, he said, "I promise." Another lie. She could feel it in the way his body tensed, in the way he couldn't quite meet her eyes when he said it. Her heart broke a little, but she smiled, went up on her toes, and kissed him softly. "Okay, I believe you." That night, after they'd checked on Hana and made sure all the security protocols were in place, Jinsang made love to her with a tenderness that felt like both an apology and a goodbye. His hands were gentle on her body, his kisses slow and deep, like he was trying to memorize every inch of her. She responded with equal tenderness, her fingers in his hair, her legs wrapped around him as he moved inside her with a sweetness that made her chest ache. "U te amo," she whispered against his mouth, the Portuguese flowing easier than English in moments like this. "So much it scares me." "I love you too," he murmured back, his voice rough with emotion. "More than my own life." They held each other afterward, skin to skin, heartbeat to heartbeat. She felt him start to relax, his breathing evening out as sleep pulled at him. But Solange couldn't sleep, couldn't stop thinking about Voss's words, about the footage, about the secrets Jinsang was keeping. She was still awake when her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Once, twice, 3 times. Jinsang stirred beside her. "What is it?" "Probably nothing. Go back to sleep." But when she picked up her phone and saw the notification, her blood turned to ice. A text from an unknown number. She opened it with shaking hands. A photo of Hana's bedroom, taken from inside the room. Tonight. The angles showed Hana's empty bed, the window, the nightlight casting soft shadows, but it was empty because Hana was supposed to be there sleeping. Below the photo, a message in precise, cold text. "Compound isn't as secure as you think. Let's talk. K." "Jinsang." Her voice came out strangled. "Jinsang, wake up." He was awake instantly, trained reflexes kicking in. "What is it?" She showed him the phone with trembling hands, watched his face go from drowsy to deadly in a fraction of a second. He was out of bed before she could even process what was happening, pulling on clothes, grabbing a gun from the safe hidden in their closet. "Stay here," he commanded, already moving toward the door. Like hell. She was scrambling into clothes, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst. "That's our daughter." They ran down the hallway together, their bare feet silent on the hardwood. Threw open Hana's door. The room was empty. The window was open, curtains blowing gently in the night breeze. And on Hana's bed, where she should have been sleeping safe and sound, was a single piece of paper with precise handwriting that made Solange's blood run cold. "She's safe. For now. But we need to have a conversation about your future, Jinsang. I'll be in touch. Don't make me wait. Kong Min-jun." Solange's legs gave out. She would have hit the floor if Jinsang hadn't caught her, his arm around her waist the only thing keeping her upright. She could hear him barking orders into his phone, calling his security team, his voice cold and controlled in a way that terrified her almost as much as Hana's disappearance. But all she could focus on was that empty bed, that open window, that note. Kong Min-jun had their daughter, and suddenly all of Jinsang's secrets, all the meetings with his ex-fiancée, all the lies made horrible, terrifying sense. He'd been trying to protect them, and he'd failed. As she stood there in her daughter's empty room, held up only by her husband's strength, Solange realized with brutal clarity that their peace had been nothing but an illusion. The war had never ended. It had just been waiting in the shadows, gathering its strength. And now it was here. Jinsang in full crime lord mode was something Solange had only glimpsed in pieces before. Now she was seeing it unleashed, and it was terrifying. He had 3 of his men lined up in his office, and she could hear his voice through the door, cold and lethal in a way that made her skin prickle. "I don't care what excuses you have. Someone got into this compound, into my daughter's room, and took her while you were supposed to be watching. Give me one reason why I shouldn't put a bullet in each of you right now." Solange pushed open the door without knocking. All 4 men turned to look at her. Jinsang's face was a mask of ice, his eyes flat and dead in a way she'd never seen before. This wasn't her husband. This was the operative, the killer, the man who'd done unspeakable things in the shadows before he met her. "Out," he said to his men without taking his eyes off her. "Find her. I want every camera in a 5-mile radius checked. Every contact we have on the street activated. Every debt called in. You have 2 hours. The men fled. Smart choice. Jinsang moved toward her, and for a second, just a second, she felt afraid. Not of him hurting her physically, but of this version of him that seemed so far removed from the man who kissed Hana goodnight and held Solange like she was precious. He backed her against the hallway wall, not gently, his hands on either side of her head, caging her in. His face was inches from hers, jaw clenched so tight she could see the muscle jumping. You should be in our room, where it's safe. Safe? She laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. Our daughter was taken from her bed in this compound. Nothing is safe. I will get her back. His voice was deadly calm. I will burn this entire city down if I have to, but I will get her back. We will get her back. She put her hands on his chest, felt his heart racing despite the cold control on his face. Together, Jinsang. Stop trying to do this alone. Something cracked in his expression. Pain breaking through the ice. This is my fault. Kong is targeting her because of me, because of what I did, who I was. Stop. She grabbed his face, forced him to look at her. This is not your fault. Kong is a monster using our daughter to manipulate you. That's on him, not you. He closed his eyes, leaned his forehead against hers. For a moment they just stood there, breathing the same air, drawing strength from each other. Then his phone rang. He answered it immediately. Talk. She watched his face change as he listened, saw relief flash across his features before he schooled them back to neutral. He hung up. They found her. Memorial Park. Sitting on a bench. Alone. Security footage shows a black sedan dropped her off 10 minutes ago. Is she hurt? No. She's scared but unhurt. He was already moving, grabbing his keys, his gun. Let's go. They took his car, and Solange had never been more grateful for Dallas traffic laws being optional for Jinsang when he was like this. He drove like a man possessed, weaving through traffic, one hand on the wheel and the other reaching over to grip her thigh possessively, like he needed the physical contact to stay grounded. When we get her back, Solange said quietly, you need to tell me everything. No more secrets, no more protecting me. We face whatever Kong wants together. His hand tightened on her thigh. You don't understand what he's capable of. Then make me understand. He glanced at her, something raw and desperate in his eyes. If anything happens to you because of my past, it will destroy me. I can't lose you, Solange. I can't. You won't. But you will lose me if you keep shutting me out. They pulled up to the park and Solange was out of the car before it fully stopped. She saw Hana sitting on a bench surrounded by 3 of Jinsang's security team, and her heart lurched. She ran, dropping to her knees in front of the little girl. Baby, oh my God, baby. She pulled Hana into her arms, checking her over frantically for injuries. Are you okay? Did anyone hurt you? Hana was crying, clinging to Solange. Mama, I was scared. A man came in my room and said we were going for a ride. He said Daddy would understand. Jinsang was there then, wrapping both of them in his arms, his face buried in Hana's hair. Solange felt him trembling and realized he was barely holding it together. One of the security guards approached carefully. Sir, there's a note. It was pinned to her jacket. Jinsang took it with one hand, still holding his family, with the other. Solange read it over his shoulder. See how easy it was. Next time I won't return her. Meet me alone. Pier 19, midnight tomorrow. Come armed if you want. Won't make a difference. We both know how this ends. Kong Min-jun. Jinsang crumpled the note in his fist. Get them home. Triple security on the compound. No one gets in or out without my authorization. The drive back was silent. Hana curled between them in the back seat while one of the guards drove. Solange held her daughter and watched Jinsang's profile, saw the war happening behind his eyes. He was planning something. Something he wasn't going to tell her. Back at the compound, Solange got Hana settled with warm milk and her favorite stuffed animal, staying with her until she finally fell asleep. When she came back to their bedroom, Jinsang was standing at the window, staring out at the grounds, a glass of whiskey in his hand. "You're planning to go alone," she said. "Not a question." "I have to?" "No, you don't." He turned to face her. "If I don't, he'll keep coming after her. After you. This is the only way. The only way is for us to be smarter than him. Together." Solange. The doorbell rang. At this hour, Jinsang's hand went immediately to his gun, body tensing. "Stay here." But she followed him down the stairs, watched through the security monitors as his men checked the visitor. Agent Voss, standing at their front gate like he had every right to be there. "Let him in," Jinsang said, his voice cold. Voss walked into their home with that same calculating smile. "Heard you had some excitement today. Your daughter okay?" "What do you want, Voss?" Jinsang's control was razor thin. "To make you an offer you actually can't refuse." Voss pulled out his phone, showed them something on the screen. "Kong Min-jun isn't just here for you. He's here to establish a new trafficking route through Texas. Children, women, weapons. We're talking hundreds of millions in illegal trade. Help us take him down and the FBI will give you and your family full immunity. Witness protection if you want it. New identities. Clean slate. And if I refuse? Then Kong gets what he wants. You and your family becomes collateral damage." Voss looked at Solange. "You already know this, don't you, Dr. Batista? That's why you looked so scared when I showed you those videos of your husband with Yuna." Jinsang's head whipped toward her. "What videos?" Solange felt her stomach drop. "Voss came to my clinic today, showed me footage of you meeting with someone named Yuna. He said she was Kong's daughter, your ex-fiancée." The betrayal on Jinsang's face cut through her. "And you didn't tell me?" "You weren't telling me the truth either." "Because I was trying to protect you. By lying, by sneaking around with your ex." "I wasn't sneaking around. Kong threatened to kill Hana if I didn't meet with Yuna. She's been delivering his messages, his demands. I've been trying to buy us time, trying to find a way out that doesn't end with all of us dead." Voss watched their fight with barely concealed satisfaction. "See what secrets do. They destroy everything. Now here's what's going to happen. Kong wants you to eliminate someone for him, Jinsang. A cartel leader named Santos who's been interfering with Kong's operations. You do that, Kong gets what he wants, and your family stays relatively safe. Or you help us set up Kong, we take him down, and your family gets actual freedom." "There's a third option," Jinsang said quietly, dangerously. "I kill Kong myself and deal with whatever consequences come after. That's suicide, and you know it. Kong's protected. He has connections you can't imagine. The only way to take him down is legally, with evidence, with a case that sticks. Get out of my house. Think about it, Jinsang. You have until midnight tomorrow. Same deadline Kong gave you. Choose wisely." Voss headed for the door, then paused. "And maybe start being honest with your wife. She deserves better than your half-truths." After he left, the silence in their home was deafening. Solange stood on one side of the room, Jinsang on the other, a chasm opening between them built from secrets and fear. 3 weeks, she said finally. "You've been meeting with her for 3 weeks. I was trying to negotiate, to find a way out. Did you sleep with her?" "What?" "No." He looked genuinely horrified. "Solange, no. I would never. How am I supposed to know what you would or wouldn't do when you've been lying to me for weeks?" He crossed to her, tried to take her hands, but she pulled away. Pain flashed across his face. "I love you. Only you. There is no one else. There will never be anyone else. Yuna means nothing to me except as a connection to Kong." "Then why didn't you tell me?" Her voice broke. Why did you shut me out? Because every time I close my eyes, I see you dead. I see Hana dead. I see everything I love destroyed because of my past. And I thought if I could just handle it quietly, if I could just make it go away before you even knew it was happening, I could spare you that fear. I don't need to be spared, Jinsang. I need to be trusted. I need to be your partner, not some fragile thing you have to protect. You're not fragile. You're the strongest person I know. That's why I'm terrified of breaking you. She felt tears sliding down her face. The only thing breaking me is you shutting me out. He pulled her into his arms then, and she let herself sink into his embrace, even though she was still angry, still hurt. They stood there in their living room, holding each other while their world crumbled around them. That night, they barely spoke. Checked on Hana together, made sure every window, every door, every possible entry point was secured. When they finally got to their bedroom, the weight of everything hung between them. Jinsang sat on the edge of their bed, head in, his hands. I don't know what to do. Every choice leads to someone I love getting hurt. Solange sat beside him, took his hand. Then we make the choice together. What does Kong actually want? He wants me back in his network. Wants me to be his fixer, his weapon, like I was before. And if I refuse, he'll destroy everyone I care about to prove a point. What does Voss want? He wants Kong in prison, wants to use me as bait to make that happen. And what do you want? He looked at her, and she saw the exhaustion, the fear, the love all mixed together in his eyes. I want to run, take you and Hana and disappear somewhere they can never find us. Would that work? No. Kong would hunt us forever. We'd never be safe. She squeezed his hand. Then we fight. We're smarter than both of them. We find a way to take Kong down without sacrificing you in the process. There is no way, Solange. Kong doesn't lose. He's too powerful, too connected. The only way to beat him is to give him what he wants or die trying. She turned to face him fully, cupped his face in her hands. Do you trust me? With my life. Then trust me now. We will find a way. Together. He kissed her then, desperate and hungry, like he was trying to memorize the taste of her. She kissed back with equal intensity, pouring everything she felt into it. Fear, love, anger, hope. They made love that night slowly, tenderly, taking their time with each other, his hands gentle as they removed her clothes, his mouth soft against her skin. She touched him with reverence, tracing every scar, every line, every part of him she'd come to know so well. When he moved inside her, it was with a sweetness that made her chest ache, his forehead pressed to hers, their breathing synchronized. I love you, he whispered in Korean, then Portuguese, then English, like he needed to say it in every language he knew. I love you so much it terrifies me. I love you too, she breathed back. Whatever happens, tomorrow, we face it together. Promise me. I promise. But she felt the lie in the way his body tensed, in the way he held her just a little too tight afterward, like he was already saying goodbye. She fell asleep in his arms, exhausted from fear and emotion, and when she woke in the early morning light, the bed beside her was cold. She sat up, heart already racing. Jinsang? Silence. She threw off the covers, ran to the closet. His clothes were there. His gun was gone. She checked Hana's room, found their daughter still sleeping safely, but Jinsang was nowhere in the compound. On his pillow she found a note, his handwriting, neat and precise. My love, by the time you read this, I'll be with Voss. I've made a deal. I testify against Kong, help them build their case, and in exchange you and Hana get full immunity and protection. They'll relocate you, give you new identities if needed. You'll be safe. That's all that matters. I know you're angry. I know you'll hate me for doing this without you. But I couldn't risk Kong getting to you or Hana. This was the only way. I love you more than my own life. Take care of our daughter. Tell her every day that her daddy loved her more than anything. Be happy, meu amor. That's all I ever wanted for you. Jinsang. Her hands were shaking so hard she could barely hold the paper. He'd done it. He'd sacrificed himself without giving her a choice, without trusting her to fight alongside him. She wanted to scream, wanted to throw things, wanted to... Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered with trembling hands. The screen flickered to life, showing grainy video feed, and her heart stopped completely. Jinsang, tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse. His face was bloody, bruised, one eye swollen shut. His shirt was torn, revealing more bruises across his ribs. He was barely conscious, head lolling forward. Then Kong Minjun's voice, smooth and cold, came through the speaker. Dr. Batista, your husband, made a very foolish choice. Did he really think the FBI could protect him, that they were his allies? I own half the agents in that building, including the one he thought he was making a deal with. Now he's mine. And unless you want him to die slowly and painfully, you're going to do exactly what I say. The video zoomed in on Jinsang's face. His good eye opened slightly, finding the camera, finding her, and even beaten, even broken, she saw the love there, saw the apology, saw him trying to be brave for her. Kong's voice continued. You have 12 hours to bring me something in exchange for his life. I'll be in touch with details. And Dr. Batista, don't involve the FBI, don't involve the police. You come alone or your husband dies. He sacrificed himself for you. Now let's see if you'll do the same. The call ended. The screen went black. Solange stood there in her bedroom, phone in one shaking hand, Jinsang's note in the other, and felt something inside her crack and then harden into something sharp and deadly. Kong Minjun had made a mistake. He thought she was weak, thought she was some helpless woman who would crumble under pressure. He had no idea what she'd survived to get here, no idea what she was capable of when someone she loved was threatened. Jinsang had tried to protect her by sacrificing himself. Now it was her turn to save him, and God help anyone who got in her way. Solange stood in front of the full-length mirror in her bedroom, transforming herself into someone she barely recognized. The black dress hugged every curve of her body, the neckline low enough to distract, the slit high enough to show the holster strapped to her thigh. She pinned her curls up, applied makeup with a steady hand, even though inside she was screaming. Red lips, dark eyes, war paint. She looked dangerous. She looked like she belonged in Jinsang's world. Maybe she always had. Her phone sat on the dresser, Kong's number saved. 12 hours, he'd said. She had 11 left, but first she had something to take care of. She checked on Hana one more time. Her daughter was still asleep, curled up with her stuffed rabbit, innocent and safe for now. Mina, the assistant, was stationed outside her door with strict instructions not to let anyone in or out. The compound was on lockdown. Solange kissed Hana's forehead, breathed in her little girl's scent, and felt her resolve harden even more. She was doing this for both of them, for her family. She left the compound before dawn, drove through empty Dallas streets to the FBI field office downtown. The building was mostly dark, only a few windows lit. She parked and texted the number Voss had given her months ago. I'm outside. We need to talk. Now. 5 minutes later, Voss appeared at a side entrance, looking annoyed and suspicious. Dr. Batista, it's 5 a.m. Kong has Jinsang. He's been beaten, probably tortured. Kong called me, gave me 12 hours to meet his demands, or my husband dies. Voss's expression shifted slightly. What demands? I don't know yet. He said he'd contact me with details. She stepped closer, her voice dropping. But I have a proposal for you. I'm listening. You want Kong? I want my husband back alive. Let me go to Kong as bait. I'll wear a wire, get him talking, get you the evidence you need to take him down. In exchange, you give Jinsang full immunity and protection. Real protection this time, not whatever setup you had that led to Kong getting him. Voss studied her carefully. You understand what you're proposing? Kong Min-jun is one of the most dangerous men alive. He's killed people for less than what you're suggesting. I don't care. That's my husband, the father of my daughter. I'm not letting him die. A smile played at the corner of Voss's mouth. Your husband trained you well, but wearing a wire isn't enough. We need Kong to confess to specific crimes on tape. We need names, locations, evidence we can use in court. Then tell me what to ask, what to say. I'll get you everything you need. And if Kong searches you, finds the wire. She met his eyes steadily. Then I guess we're both dead. But at least I tried. Voss was quiet for a moment, considering. Then he nodded. Come inside. We don't have much time. 2 hours later, Solange walked out of the FBI building with a wire thinner than thread sewn into the lining of her dress and a small tracking device embedded in her bracelet. Voss had coached her on what to say, what to ask, how to keep Kong talking without making him suspicious. One more thing, Voss had said as she left. If this goes wrong, if Kong figures out what you're doing, we might not be able to get to you in time. Are you sure you want to do this? She'd looked at him with steel in her eyes. He took my husband, made the biggest mistake of his life. Her phone rang as she got back to her car. Unknown number. She answered. Dr. Batista, I hope you slept well. Kong's voice was smooth, cultured, terrifying in its calmness. Where's my husband? I want proof he's still alive. Of course, always so practical. There was a rustling sound, then Jinsang's voice, rough and pained. Solange, don't. A sound like a fist hitting flesh, then silence. He's alive. For now. Whether he stays that way depends entirely on you. Kong's voice came back. Here's what I need. There's a flash drive in a safety deposit box at First Dallas Bank, registered under your husband's name. It contains information I require. You'll retrieve it and bring it to me. Alone. What kind of information? Names, accounts, evidence of transactions I'd rather not have floating around. Your husband was always thorough in his record keeping, too thorough, as it turns out. And if I bring you this flash drive, you'll let him go? I'll consider it. Meet me at the Adolphus Hotel, penthouse suite, 3 o'clock this afternoon. Come alone, come unarmed, and come, prepared to be very cooperative, Dr. Batista. I've been curious about the woman who managed to tame Jinsang Baek. The call ended. Solange sat in her car, hands gripping the steering wheel, and let herself feel the fear for just one moment. Then she pushed it down, locked it away, and started the engine. She had work to do. The Adolphus Hotel was one of Dallas's most luxurious establishments, all old-world elegance and modern comfort. Solange walked through the lobby in her black dress and heels, aware of every eye that turned to follow her. The wire pressed against her skin like a secret. The tracking device on her wrist caught the light. She took the private elevator to the penthouse, her heart pounding but her face calm. The doors opened directly into a suite that was bigger than her first apartment in Brazil. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Dallas skyline, and standing by those windows, hands clasped behind his back, was Kong Min-jun. He turned as she entered, and she got her first real look at him. Late 50s, Korean, impeccably dressed in a tailored suit that probably cost more than most people made in a year. Handsome in a cold, refined way. Eyes that missed nothing. Dr. Batista, you're even more beautiful than the photographs. He gestured to a chair. Please sit. Would you like a drink? I want my husband. Direct. I like that. Kong poured himself whiskey from a crystal decanter. But let's not rush. We have things to discuss first. I brought what you asked for. She pulled the flash drive from her purse, held it up. Jinsang's files. Now where is he? Kong took the flash drive, examined it, then pocketed it without checking its contents. Nearby. Don't worry, he's being taken care of. He moved closer to her, too close, invading her personal space. She forced herself not to step back, not to show fear. His eyes traveled over her body in a way that made her skin crawl. You know, when Jinsang first told me he was leaving the business, I thought it was temporary. A phase. Men like him don't just walk away from what they are. But then I learned about you, the therapist, the woman who made him want to be something different. Kong circled her slowly. I have to admit, I didn't understand the appeal at first, but seeing you now, seeing the steel in your spine, the way you're trying so hard not to tremble, I'm beginning to see what he saw. The flash drive. My husband. That was the deal. The flash drive was never the real prize, Dr. Batista. It was a test, to see if you'd come, to see if you were brave enough, foolish enough, to walk into the lion's den for love. He stopped in front of her. And here you are. What do you really want? Kong's smile was cold. 3 years ago, Jinsang was supposed to eliminate a government official for me, someone who was getting too close to exposing certain operations. Jinsang refused. It was one of the reasons he left my organization. That official is now a senator, and he's become a very big problem. I want Jinsang to finish the job. Solange felt her blood run cold. You want him to commit murder? I want him to do what he was always meant to do. He's a weapon, Dr. Batista, the best I ever had, and weapons don't get to choose their targets. Kong pulled out his phone, showed her a photo. A man in his 60s, kind face, distinguished. Senator William Hayes. He'll be at a fundraiser tomorrow night. Jinsang knows how to make it look like a heart attack. Natural causes. No investigation. And if he refuses, then I'll kill you in front of him. Slowly. And then I'll kill that little girl you've been raising as your own. And then I'll kill him. In that order, so he has to watch everything he loves die before he goes. Keep him talking, Voss had said. Get him to be specific. Why now? Solange forced her voice to stay steady. Why come back after all this time? Because I'm dying, Dr. Batista. Cancer. 6 months, maybe a year, if I'm lucky. And before I go, I need to tie up loose ends. Senator Hayes is the biggest loose end I have. He's been working with the FBI, with Interpol, building a case against my entire network. Transactions, names, everything. If he succeeds, everyone I've built over 40 years collapses. I can't allow that. So you're using my husband as your executioner. I'm giving him the opportunity to save his family. That's more than most people get. Kong moved to the window. He'll do it. Men like Jinsang always choose love over principle. That's their weakness. And you think he won't just run? Take us and disappear? I've already thought of that. Which is why you're going to stay with me until the job is done. Insurance, if you will. Jinsang completes the assignment tomorrow night. I let you both go. He refuses or tries to run. You die. Simple. Solange felt the wire against her skin. Hope to God the FBI was getting all of this. You're insane. The FBI is already watching. You really think you'll get away with this? Kong laughed. The FBI? My dear, I have 3 agents on my payroll, including the one your husband thought he was making a deal with. Agent Marcus Voss has been very helpful in keeping me informed of their every move. Her blood froze. Voss was dirty. The man she'd just made a deal with, the man who was supposed to be listening to this wire right now, was working for Kong. She was completely alone. I see the realization on your face, Kong said, amused. Yes, you've been betrayed. Your husband was betrayed. It's what I do best, Dr. Batista. Find people's weaknesses and exploit them. Speaking of which, he pressed a button on his phone. A door opened and 2 men dragged Jinsang into the room. Solange's heart shattered at the sight of him. His face was a mess of bruises and cuts, one eye swollen completely shut. His shirt was gone, revealing more bruises across his ribs, his chest. His hands were bound behind his back. But when he saw her, something fierce and desperate flashed in his good eye. "Solange, run!" One of the men hit him in the stomach and he doubled over, gasping. "Stop!" She moved toward him, but Kong grabbed her arm, squeezed hard enough to bruise. "No, no, you're going to stay right here where I can see you, but I thought you two should have a moment together." Motivation, as it were. He gestured and the men shoved Jinsang into a chair across from Solange, then bound him to it. Kong produced another chair, forced Solange into it, bound her wrists to the armrests. They were facing each other, close enough to touch but restrained. There, intimate but controlled. "Now, Jinsang, you're going to listen very carefully to what I'm about to tell you." Kong explained the entire plan again, outlining exactly how Jinsang would kill Senator Hayes, when, where, what would happen afterward. Jinsang's expression was stone, but Solange could see the rage burning behind his eyes, the helplessness. "And if I refuse?" Jinsang's voice was hoarse. "Then I'll start with her fingers, one at a time, then her toes, then I'll get creative. You'll watch every second of it before I finally let you both die." Jinsang's jaw clenched. "I'll do it. Just let her go." "No," Kong smiled. "She stays with me until it's done. Insurance." Then, surprisingly, Kong stood. "I have another meeting. I'll leave you two alone for a few minutes. Bond, say your goodbyes, just in case. My men will be right outside the door." He left, his guards following. The moment they were alone, Jinsang's whole body sagged. "I'm so sorry. God, Solange, I'm so sorry. I thought I was protecting you." "Shut up." Her voice was fierce despite the tears streaming down her face. "Just shut up and listen to me. The FBI's coming. I'm wearing a wire. They heard everything." Kong said Voss is dirty. "I know, but I'm not stupid. I recorded everything on my phone too. Sent it to a contact before I came. Here. If Kong kills us, at least he goes down too." Jinsang stared at her, and despite everything, despite the pain and fear, she saw pride in his expression. "You're incredible. You know that? I learned from the best." She leaned forward as far as her bindings would allow. "We're getting out of this, both of us, together." "I love you," he whispered in Portuguese. "Eu te amo mais que minha própria vida." "I love you too. Now help me get these ropes off. We don't have much time." They worked together, Jinsang using his bound hands to manipulate the knots on her restraints while she did the same for him. Months ago, he'd taught her how to escape basic restraints. She'd thought it was paranoid. Now she was grateful. Her hands came free first, then his. The door burst open just as they stood, but it wasn't Kong's men. It was FBI agents, dozens of them flooding the room, and at the front was a woman Solange had never seen before. "FBI, hands where we can see them. We're victims here," Solange shouted. "Kong Min-jun is... We know. We've been monitoring this entire thing." The woman approached, showing her badge. "Special Agent Rebecca Laurent. You must be Dr. Batista. That was incredibly brave and incredibly stupid what you just did." "Where's Voss?" "Under arrest. Turns out your wire wasn't connected to his equipment. We've been investigating him for months. When you walked into the field office this morning, you gave us exactly what we needed." Gunfire erupted from somewhere in the hotel. Jinsang immediately moved to shield Solange, his body covering hers. More FBI agents rushed past them. "Kong?" Jinsang demanded. "Trying to escape through the service entrance. We've got it covered." Laurent looked at them both. "You two need medical attention. Paramedics are downstairs." "My daughter," Solange said urgently. "Hana, she's at the compound." "Already safe. We sent agents to secure her the moment you activated the wire." Relief flooded through Solange so intensely her knees buckled. Jinsang caught her, held her up, and they just clung to each other for a moment while chaos swirled around them. "It's over," he murmured into her hair. It's really over. But even as he said it, Solange heard the commotion from down the hall. Shouts, more gunfire, then silence. Agent Laurent's radio crackled. Subject escaped. Repeat, Kong Min-jun has escaped. Lost him in the underground parking structure. Putting out an APB now. Jinsang's arms tightened around Solange. No, it's not over. 3 hours later, they were back at the compound, both of them bandaged and bruised but alive. Hana was safe, confused but safe. Solange held her daughter while Jinsang dealt with increased security protocols. The house was crawling with FBI agents now, protective custody until Kong was found. Senator Hayes had been warned and was in a secure location. Voss was in federal custody, facing charges of corruption, obstruction, and conspiracy. But Kong was gone, vanished into the Dallas underground like smoke. They put Hana to bed together, both of them needing to see her safe, to touch her and know she was real. Then they stumbled to their own bedroom, exhausted beyond words. Solange sat on the edge of their bed and just started shaking. The adrenaline finally wearing off, reality crashing down. Jinsang was beside her immediately, pulling her into his arms. "I thought I'd lost you," she sobbed into his shoulder. "I thought he'd killed you." "I thought the same about you when I realized you'd walked into that hotel. God, Solange, you could have died." "So could you. That was the whole point." She pulled back to look at him, anger mixing with relief. "Don't you ever sacrifice yourself for me again. Don't you ever make that choice without me. Only if you promise the same thing." They stared at each other, both battered and bruised, both having nearly lost everything. Then Jinsang kissed her, and she kissed back desperately. All the fear, all the terror, all the love poured into that kiss. They fell back onto the bed, hands frantically pulling at clothes, needing to feel each other to confirm they were both alive. He kissed every inch of her he could reach, whispering her name like a prayer. She touched him everywhere, mapping his body, finding new bruises that made her want to cry and old scars that she'd memorized. When he entered her, it was with a desperation that bordered on violence. Both of them needing the connection, the affirmation that they'd survived. She wrapped her legs around him, nails digging into his back, and let herself fall apart in his arms. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and breathless. Jinsang buried his face in her neck. "I can't do this anymore, can't live like this, always waiting for the next threat." "Then we don't. Kong is on the run. The FBI is hunting him. We're safe. For now." Her phone rang on the nightstand. She considered, ignoring it, but Jinsang tensed beside her. They both knew better than to ignore phones anymore. She answered. "Hello? Mrs. Bayek?" An unfamiliar woman's voice. "This is Principal Martinez from Hana's school. I'm calling because Hana didn't arrive for her first class this morning and we can't reach your assistant." The phone slipped from Solange's hand. Hana was asleep in her room. They'd just put her to bed. They'd seen her, held her, kissed her good night. They both ran down the hallway, threw open Hana's door. The bed was empty, window open. And on the pillow, one word written in red lipstick. "Again." Solange screamed. She couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process what she was seeing. Hana's empty bed, the open window, that word written in lipstick like a taunt. Again. Jinsang was already moving, gun in hand, barking orders into his phone. "Lock down the compound, check every camera, find out how they got past security, do it now." Solange stood frozen in the doorway, her mind refusing to accept this. They'd just had her, just held her, just kissed her goodnight 30 minutes ago. How was this possible? "Solange," Jinsang's hands on her shoulders, shaking her gently. "Solange, look at me." She focused on his face, saw her own terror reflected back at her. "We're going to find her. I promise you, we're going to find her. You promised she was safe. You promised it was over." pain flashed across his face, but he didn't have time to respond. One of his men appeared in the doorway, face pale. "Sir, we found Mina. She's unconscious in the hallway. Looks like she was drugged, and there's something else." They followed him to the main security room. On the monitors, they could see the playback from 30 minutes ago. A figure in black moving through the compound like a ghost, avoiding cameras, disabling sensors. Entering Hana's room, carrying out a small limp body wrapped in a blanket. The figure paused at one camera, looked directly at it, and pulled down the mask. Kong Min-jun, smiling. Then he held up a phone, showed a message to the camera. "Pier 19, 1 hour. Both of you, alone. No FBI or she dies." Jinsang's fist slammed into the desk, cracking the wood. How did he get in? How did he get past everything? He had help. Agent Laurent's voice came from behind them. She'd arrived with more FBI agents. "We found your head of security, Mr. Bayek. He's been on Kong's payroll for 6 months. Gave him access codes, patrol schedules, everything." "Where is he?" "Dead. Looks like Kong killed him after getting what he needed. Left the body as a message." Solange felt like she was drowning. Kong had been inside their home, had walked past all their security, all their protections, and taken their daughter while they'd been in the next room. Had been planning this the entire time. "We need to go," Jinsang said, his voice cold and flat. That dangerous calm she recognized. "Now." "You're not going anywhere without backup," Laurent said. "Kong's clearly trying to lure you. I don't care. That's my daughter. And walking into his trap won't save her. We need a tactical team, a plan." "We don't have time for plans. He said 1 hour. Jinsang was already moving, grabbing weapons, pulling on a tactical vest. Solange watched him transform into someone she barely recognized. Not her husband, not Hana's father. A weapon, a killer, the man Kong had trained him to be. She moved toward their bedroom, started pulling on dark clothes, tying her hair back. "What are you doing?" Jinsang demanded. "Coming with you." "Absolutely not. That's my daughter, too. Which is exactly why you're staying here, where it's safe." "Safe?" She laughed, the sound slightly hysterical. "There is no safe, Jinsang. Kong got into our home, into our daughter's bedroom while we were here. Safe doesn't exist anymore." "Solange, I'm not letting you do this alone. I'm not staying here. Wondering if you're alive, if she's alive, if I'll ever see either of you again." Her voice broke. "We're partners. We face this together. You said that. You promised." He stared at her, jaw clenched, clearly torn between protecting her and accepting that she was right. "If you come," he said finally, "you do exactly what I say. No arguments. No hesitation. Understand?" "I understand." Agent Laurent tried to protest, but they were already leaving, Jinsang's remaining loyal security team forming around them. The drive to Pier 19 took 15 minutes through dark Dallas streets. The pier was an old industrial area on the Trinity River, mostly abandoned, perfect for the kind of confrontation Kong wanted. "He'll have shooters positioned," Jinsang said as they approached. "He won't take chances." "What does he really want?" Solange asked. "This isn't just about the senator anymore. This is personal." "It's always been personal. Kong doesn't like losing his assets. I was supposed to be his forever. By walking away, by choosing you, by choosing this life, I humiliated him. This is about making me pay for that." They parked a block away, approached on foot. The pier stretched out over dark water, old warehouses on either side. At the end of the pier, illuminated by single light, stood Kong Min-jun, and he wasn't alone. Solange's heart stopped when she saw Hana standing in front of Kong, his hand on her shoulder, but there was someone else. A woman kneeling on the ground, hands bound, face bruised and bloody. Ji-woo, Hana's biological mother. "What the hell?" Jinsang breathed. They approached slowly, hands visible, weapons holstered as Kong had demanded. When they got close enough, Solange could see Hana was crying silently, terrified but trying to be brave, and Ji-woo looked up at them with desperate, haunted eyes. "Welcome," Kong said pleasantly. "I've been expecting you, and look, I've brought the whole family together. Isn't that nice?" "Let them go," Jinsang said, his voice deadly calm. "This is between us." "Oh, but it's not. You see, I've realized something, Jinsang. You don't respond to threats against yourself. You're too well trained for that, but threaten the people you love?" Kong's hand tightened on Hana's shoulder and she whimpered. "That's when you break. What do you want? I want you to make a choice, a real choice this time." Kong pulled out a gun, pointed it at Ji-woo's head. "I'm going to kill one of them. You choose which one. Hana's mother, the woman who gave birth to her. Or your wife, the woman who's been raising her. You have 10 seconds to decide." "No." Solange's voice came out strangled. "No, you can't." 10, 9, 8. "Stop." Jinsang moved forward, but Kong pressed the gun harder against Ji-woo's temple. 7, 6, 5. "Take me instead," Solange screamed. "Let them both go and take me." Kong paused, interested. Now that's intriguing, the stepmother sacrificing herself. But no, I don't think so. This isn't about you, Dr. Batista. This is about making Jinsang choose. Making him live with the consequences of his choices, the way I've had to live with the consequences of his betrayal. 4, 3, 2. "Wait," Jinsang's voice cracked. "Wait, I'll come back. I'll work for you again. I'll do whatever you want. Just let them all go." Kong smiled. "Now we're getting somewhere. But I need proof of your commitment. Kill Senator Hayes. Tonight, right now. He's at a hotel downtown. I have the address. You do this for me right now, and I let your family live." "Jinsang, no," Solange whispered. "I'll do it," he said, not taking his eyes off Kong. "I'll do it. Just let Hana go first, please." "Oh, how sweet, begging. I do enjoy seeing you like this." Kong considered. "Fine, but the wife and the ex-wife stay with me until you return with proof." "Insurance?" "No." Everything happened at once. Floodlights suddenly illuminated the pier from all directions. Agent Lauren's voice boomed through a megaphone. "FBI, Kong Min-jun, you're surrounded. Release the hostages and put down your weapon." Kong's face twisted with rage. "You brought them, you stupid—" He swung the gun toward Hana. Jinsang was already moving, throwing himself forward. Gunfire erupted. Solange screamed and ran toward her daughter. Then Ji-woo did something unexpected. She lunged upward from her kneeling position, throwing her body between Kong's gun and Hana. The shot that was meant for the child hit Ji-woo instead, blood blooming across her chest. Chaos. More gunfire. Kong's men appearing from the warehouses, FBI agents returning fire. Jinsang reached Hana, scooped her up, shielding her with his body. Solange grabbed Ji-woo, trying to stop the bleeding with her hands. "No, no, no, stay with me." Ji-woo looked up at her with fading eyes. "Take care of her. She's yours now. She always was." "Don't you dare die. We're getting you help," Kong was shouting. Orders, trying to escape through the chaos. Agent Laurent and her team moved in, tactical and precise. More gunfire. Then a splash as someone hit the water. "Subject in the water," someone yelled. "Lost visual." But Solange wasn't paying attention to any of that. She was holding pressure on Ji-woo's wound, watching her daughter's mother dying in her arms while Jinsang sheltered their screaming child. Paramedics rushed in. They took over from Solange, loaded Ji-woo onto a stretcher, worked on her as they ran back to the ambulances. Jinsang was still holding Hana, who was sobbing into his shoulder, and Solange wrapped her arms around both of them. "It's okay, baby. You're safe now. You're safe." "Kong?" Jinsang asked one of the FBI agents. "Escaped. Went into the river. We've got boats searching, but it's dark and the current—" The agent shook his head. We'll find him. Or he'll find us, Solange thought but didn't say. Not in front of Hana. At the hospital they waited while surgeons worked on Ji-woo. Hana had finally cried herself to sleep curled in Solange's lap, and Jinsang sat beside them, one arm around Solange, one hand on Hana's back. None of them spoke. There was nothing to say. 3 hours later, a doctor emerged. She's alive, critical but stable. The bullet missed her heart by centimeters. She's incredibly lucky. Can we see her? Jinsang asked. Family only, and only for a few minutes. We're her family, Solange said firmly. Ji-woo looked small and fragile in the hospital bed, tubes and wires connected to her, machines beeping steadily. Her eyes opened when they entered, focused on Hana still in Solange's arms. Is she okay? Ji-woo's voice was barely a whisper. She's okay. Because of you. Solange moved closer. You saved her life. I owed her that much. Owed all of you. Ji-woo's eyes filled with tears. I was a terrible mother. Let my addiction, my choices, hurt her in ways she'll carry forever. But you? She looked at Solange. You've been the mother she needed. The mother I couldn't be. Ji-woo. No, let me finish. I'm giving up my parental rights, completely. She's yours, Solange. Legally, officially. I'll sign whatever papers need to be signed. She deserves parents who will protect her, who will put her first. That's you two, not me. Jinsang's jaw tightened, but he nodded. Thank you. Don't thank me. This is the first unselfish thing I've done in years. Ji-woo closed her eyes. Just promise me you'll tell her I loved her, even when I was broken, even when I hurt her, I loved her. I promise, Solange whispered. They left Ji-woo to rest and took Hana home as the sun was rising over Dallas. The compound was being swept by FBI teams, security being completely overhauled. But for now, they just needed to be together. That night, after FBI interviews and security briefings and a dozen other things that needed handling, they finally got Hana settled. She refused to sleep in her own room, terrified of being alone, so they made a nest in their bed with her between them. Solange lay on one side of Hana, Jinsang on the other, both of them holding their daughter's hands. Hana was finally sleeping, exhausted from fear and tears. In the dim light, Solange looked across at her husband and saw her own exhaustion, her own relief, reflected back. Is it really over? She whispered. Kong's still out there. But we're together, all three of us. His hand found hers across Hana's sleeping form, fingers interlacing. Together, he agreed. You're the bravest thing that ever happened to me, he whispered. You're the most dangerous thing that ever happened to me, she whispered back. They smiled at each other, battered and bruised but unbroken. Whatever came next, they'd face it the way they'd faced everything else. Together. 1 week later, Solange was at her clinic trying to return to some kind of normal. The FBI had security stationed outside. Kong Min-jun was still missing, presumed dead, but not confirmed. Life was slowly, carefully, returning to a rhythm. She was reviewing notes between patients when her receptionist buzzed. Dr. Batista, there's someone here to see you. She doesn't have an appointment, but she says it's important. Her name is Isabella Cardoso. Solange froze. Cardoso, her mother's maiden name. Send her in. The woman who walked into her office looked exactly like Solange. Same caramel brown skin, same facial features, same voluptuous figure. But her hair was straight where Solange's was curly, and her eyes held a hardness that Solange recognized from her own reflection after everything they'd been through. Hello, sister, the woman said with a slight Brazilian accent. Mama sent me to bring you home to Brazil. She says you have a debt to pay for leaving the way you did, for abandoning the family, for thinking you could just run away and start a new life. Lovies, can you believe this? Just when Solange and Jinsang thought they could breathe, The past comes knocking in the most unexpected way. A twin sister she never knew existed. A mother with debts to collect. Girl between two worlds, beyond all borders, this story just proved why Afro-Seoul TV only serves tearjerkers, heartbreakers, and game changers. Now before we see what happens next, drop a comment right now and tell me where you're watching from and how you're feeling after this roller coaster, because, honey, Part 3 is coming, and it's about to get even more intense. Are you Team Solange and Jinsang forever? Let me know. And don't forget to like and subscribe, because you do not want to miss what happens when this twin sister and her secrets collide with everything our couple has built. Solange stared at the woman claiming to be her sister, her mind racing. I don't have a sister. You do now. Isabella moved further into the office, her movements predatory and graceful. Mama had me 2 years after you. Different father. She sent me away when I was young, just like she sent you away. But I stayed connected to the family business. You ran. And in our world, running has consequences. What family business? Isabella smiled, cold and knowing. You really think Mama let you leave Brazil with nothing? That the money you had, the connections that got you out, came from nowhere? You owe a debt, Solange, and I'm here to collect. The clinic door opened and Jinsang walked in, coming to pick Solange up as he did most days now. He stopped when he saw Isabella, his hand automatically moving toward his concealed weapon. The resemblance between the two women was striking enough to make him do a double take. Who's this? His voice was cold, protective. Isabella turned to him, her smile widening as she took in his appearance. Tall, dangerous, handsome, clearly deadly. So you're the Korean gangster who stole my sister's heart. I can see the appeal. She extended her hand. I'm Isabella Cardoso, Solange's twin sister, though she didn't know I existed until about 30 seconds ago. Jinsang didn't shake her hand. Instead, he moved to Solange's side, his arm going around her waist possessively. Solange doesn't have a sister. She does now, and we have so much to catch up on. Isabella's eyes glittered with something dangerous. Starting with the $2 million Mama spent getting Solange out of Brazil when that man died in her apartment. Money that was supposed to be paid back. Money that's been collecting interest for years. Jinsang's body tensed beside Solange. Get out. Oh, I don't think so. See, I didn't come alone. I brought friends, associates you might say, people who are very interested in making sure family debts are honored. Isabella pulled out her phone, showed them a photo. Men with guns surrounding the compound. They're already in position. One word from me and they storm your pretty little fortress. And unlike that Kong Min-jun character you've been dealing with, my people don't play games. They just kill. Solange felt Jinsang's arm tighten around her, felt the rage and fear radiating off him. They'd just survived one nightmare. Now another was beginning. What do you want? Solange asked, her voice steady despite the terror clawing at her throat. I already told you, the debt paid, $2 million, or... Isabella's smile turned cruel. You come back to Brazil with me. Work for Mama for 2 years. Pay off your debt the way I've been paying off mine my whole life. She's not going anywhere with you, Jinsang growled. Then a lot of people die today. Your security team, your daughter's school teachers, maybe your daughter herself. Mama's very thorough about these things. Jinsang moved so fast, Solange barely saw it. 1 second he was beside her, the next he had Isabella pressed against the wall, gun to her temple. You threaten my family, you die. Simple. But Isabella just laughed. Kill me and my people attack immediately. I'm the only thing keeping them from moving right now. Besides, killing your sister-in-law on your wife's first day back at work, that's not going to help your family's situation. Solange put her hand on Jinsang's arm. Let her go. Solange, let her go. Please. Reluctantly, Jinsang stepped back, But his gun stayed trained on Isabella. Isabella straightened her clothes, still smiling like this was all amusing to her. There, that's better. Now, here's what's going to happen. You have 48 hours to decide. Pay the debt, or Solange comes with me to Brazil. Those are your options. Any attempts to run, to fight, to involve law enforcement, and people start dying. Understand? She headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Solange. Mama says she's proud of you. Finding love, building a family, surviving so much. She always knew you were strong. That's why she knows you'll make the right choice. Isabella left, and Solange collapsed into Jinsang's arms. We'll figure this out, he murmured into her hair. We always do. But as they stood there in her office, holding each other while another threat closed in around them, Solange realized something with crystal clarity. Some love stories don't get happy endings. They get sequels. And theirs was just getting started. The war would never end. Not really. But as long as they had each other, as long as they kept fighting, kept choosing love over safety, kept refusing to break no matter what came at them, they'd survive. They'd burn the whole world down if they had to. But they'd survive. Together.